Part 3.
Yes or no? 한국의 경쟁적인 교육 문화 때문에 매우 다양한 종류의 시험이나 검사를 대비하는 학원이 많은데요. 심지어 적성검사, 지능검사와 같은 것도 학원이나 개인 지도를 통해 준비하는 학생들이 많이 있습니다. 지능은 바뀔 수 있기 때문에 이런 시험 대비들이 IQ 검사나 심리 교육 검사의 점수를 높일 수 있다. Yes or no?
IQ is not static, and yes, it can be improved. A person can score very much higher with coaching.
A person might have had a stomach ache on one day and not have done as well, or maybe they weren't motivated to do well and the next time they took it they were. There are so many different factors that influence how you perform on an IQ test that aren't built into the test itself that one can always change to a certain degree.
It's also not a single number. We think of you have an IQ, but it's not true. It's a misconception. We have an array of abilities, and some we're good at and some we're not so good at. And it used to be 20, 30 years ago, a person would come in and be tested, and then the IQ would be the most important outcome. It has not been true for a very long time. Now, the goal is a person comes in to be tested, and you don't want to find out a number. You want to find out what the person is good at and what they're not so good at. Really, there are many kinds of intelligence, and we know this. Some people have a terrible sense of direction and get lost walking around the corner. There are very many different skills. When we test somebody on our IQ tests, the last thing we want is one number. The most thing we want is to find out what a person's good at, what they're not so good at, and really we want to make a difference. If we, as a psychologist or a special educator, are going to spend 60 or 90 minutes with a child, we're not interested in what is the one number. We must give teachers and parents good suggestions of what they can do with the information we just got. It used to be 30 years ago, being a psychologist doing evaluations was a little bit like a person coming to a physician with a broken arm. And the physician says, well, yes, you've got a broken arm. I looked at the x-ray and you've got a break in both bones in the forearm. And the person said, yes, it hurts very much. Can you fix it? And it would be as if the doctor would say, well, no, I don't fix broken arms. I'm just telling you, you have a broken arm. That's the way psychology used to be, and education. It used to be.
I see.
You would give an IQ test and you would say, aha, I have the answer. I can tell you about your intelligence. They never fixed the broken arm. Can you teach it? Can you get somebody to score higher on a test? The answer is absolutely, but it doesn't mean you've made them more intelligent.
I see.
That's right. An IQ test is not an achievement test. It's not supposed to tell everything that you know. It's just supposed to show how do you do when you see something unfamiliar and you're required to follow directions to solve a problem.
It is very unusual for somebody to say, come, test my child, or come, test my student. They're so wonderful, they're so interesting, they're so normal. It just doesn't happen. If you're testing for a reason.
That makes sense to me.
Yes.
두 분은 웩슬러와 함께 위스크 개정판 만드는데 직접 참여하셨고요. 또 두 분이 카우프만 검사를 많이 만드셨잖아요. 카우프만 검사가 웩슬러 검사보다 더 좋다. Yes or no? 1, 2, 3.
Absolutely, yes and
no.
And we have been involved first with Dr. Wexler in the early 1970s, which tells you that we're a little bit on the older side. We were working with him in developing the WISC-R. He was a brilliant man. He was a wonderful mentor to both of us, wonderful clinician. But the tests that he used, they were developed almost a century before, certainly at that time, 75 years before. Many of them were developed in France for French school children. Others were developed in the United States at the time, 1917, that the United States entered World War I. Those were most of the nonverbal tests. What were they developed for? They were developed to see if people who, typically young men of 18 or 19, if they did not speak English well, should they be drafted? Were they intelligent? Should they be officers? And those tasks developed turn of the century Paris and World War I in the US. They came to be the tests that we used to measure intelligence, the IQ of children and adolescents and adults everywhere. So when we got into our own test development and we developed the Kaufman tests, then was it because the Wechsler tests were bad? No. But they were old. And were they developed for children? No. They were actually mostly developed for adults. In some cases, to see if they were malingering or just didn't want to serve in the armed forces. Well, we were saying every test since then, and we're now talking the late 1970s, early 1980s, when we developed the KBC, which stands for Kaufman Assessment Battery for Children. We didn't even use the word intelligence in it, because we were interested more in the whole child. But what we wanted to do was come up with new tasks, not the ones that were used for 70 or 100 years. We wanted them to be child-oriented. We wanted children to love taking the test, and we wanted to be fair. In the US, ethnic differences has been a big problem, where the IQ has been higher for white children than for African American or Hispanic or American Indian. We wanted a test that would be fairer. We also felt a lot of the Wechsler scales was verbal. It was really achievement, questions, factual information, telling what words mean. Our feeling was, how is that fair to a child with a learning problem? If they already can't learn to read, their vocabulary would be lower. So we had a lot of goals. Most of them had to do with fairness. We achieved our goals, but it doesn't mean we are better.
We made sure that children understood what tasks were being expected of them, so that we actually built in teaching items into the tests where we would explain to them what was going to happen and what they were allowed to do. This was something that had not happened before in the Wechsler scales, so that you couldn't be positive that a child failed because they didn't know what to do, or whether they did know and they just were very poor at it. But we standardized our tests with these built-in teaching items so that we knew when a child didn't do well, it wasn't because he didn't understand what was expected of him.
For example, are an apple and a banana alike? Well, if a child didn't know what the word alike meant, they would get all the items wrong. After the KBC first came out, they also would include teaching items. Probably the biggest contribution that we made is that when I worked with David Wechsler, I was trained in statistics. Nadine, in her doctoral program, was trained as a clinician. So we've both complemented our skills, where I've been more mathematical and research oriented, she's been more clinical. And everybody else at the publisher was mathematical. What we did is we said to our test publisher, we want a clinician. So we had one of our doctoral students at University of Georgia. His name was Randy Camphouse, and he's very well known today because he's a co-author of the BASC, the leading test for behavioral assessment. But he slowed down his own PhD and took a job at the publisher, and he led KBC so that we knew that the person who was going to be developing a test for children and adolescents actually had worked with them. Now, every major publisher, including the publisher of Wechsler scales, they have neuropsychologists and clinical psychologists in charge of test development. So I would say that right now, there are a lot of good tests. Ultimately, it's How good are you, the psychologist or special educator who administers the test? You just rely on the scores, or are you able to interpret a child's strengths and weaknesses and do something about it? Well, you can do that on any good test, Kaufman or Wechsler or Woodcock.
WISC generation of tests as something special is the fact that because it's so old and it has a history, it has been researched more than any other test. So there's a lot of scientific research out there that helps with interpretation. That history of research is definitely something that the Wechsler has in its favor.
Paul McCartney and John Lennon. That's pretty correct, I think.
Yep.
1, 2, 3. Okay. Me 130 and Alan 300 and me 150 and
Oh.
Nadine